Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I've got a full review to do for you. This is the JHO number 22. I don't know, it's a strange name, but JHO Knives is the maker. Hashtag 22, number 22 is the model name. And this is a knife that I was just super intrigued by and was available from Urban EDC Supply for a little bit. So I reached out to them over there. They've become friends. And they loaned me this to check out. So linked down below, there will be my affiliate link to Urban EDC Supply. It helps me out if you use that link, if you're purchasing something from there. So big thanks to them for sending this over. When I was talking to my contact over there, he made it sound like there's a chance they're going to get some more of these because apparently they did pretty well for them. I am not positive who the manufacturer is. I feel like I don't know. I'm not going to guess because I'm not sure. It may be listed somewhere. I didn't take the time to look that up. Frankly, it is now 2 days after Christmas. And I've been taking my time with this kind of over the holidays. So I've been a little bit out of the loop for the last week and a half. I've spent hardly any time on my phone. I've been in family mode, doing all kinds of family stuff. And so I didn't even take the time to research the things on paper about this knife. I also generally don't really care that much. Once the knife is in hand, I really just want to see how it is, how it performs for me, and all that. So I've carried this knife a good few times at this point. I've probably had it in pocket 7 or 8 times. It's been as a secondary every single time that I've carried it. I've slipped it into my front right pocket in kind of my primary position, and it's fine there, but I've carried it as a secondary because blade length wise, especially cutting edge wise, it's just not quite what I would feel confident carrying as a primary. But overall length, it's actually bigger than I was expecting it to be. It's a decent sized knife. It fills my hand well, so we'll talk about that some more. But anyways, I've carried it as a secondary a good handful of times. I've used it for a lot of just little light duty things. It's a loaner. I have to send it back, and I haven't been hard using it is what I'm trying to say. I've just used it for a lot of opening packages and packaging and little things like that. But it's done well at all that stuff. So let's talk about ergos, carry, cutting, action, all of that stuff that I typically go over in a review. Bear in mind, this isn't mine, so I haven't hard used it. Not that I necessarily would hard use this knife, honestly. The way that this knife is and its design seems a little bit like it's, at least in my array of knives, what I would consider a little bit more of a light use knife. Not because it's not built in a solid way, but because of the ergonomic profile, the blade length, the shape, all of that kind of stuff seems a little more light duty to me. Anyway, we'll go over materials real quick first, and then we'll jump into ergos, carry, cutting, action. Blade steel on this guy is M390 if memory serves. It's not marked on here anywhere that I can see, but I believe they're done in M390. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty confident. The handle material is titanium, and it's got this kind of knurling on it that I really, really like. This texture on the titanium feels awesome to me. I love that they did that. You'll see on the show side, we've got these 3 brass kind of pin style inlays. So there's just these 3 brass circles set into the handle there. I think that looks really cool. It's a nice stylistic choice. I dig it. Lock side titanium again. We're rocking a frame lock with a stainless steel insert. We have a loop over style titanium milled deep carry clip. The clip is one of my favorite things about this knife. We'll talk about it in carry, but it's a really interesting design in the sense that it goes and it loops around the butt end of the handle to come into the internals of the knife, and then it mounts with 2 screws. One is here, the next is here, and then it goes into the final kind of spacer or pin back there, barrel spacer thing. So it's mounted internally into a slot with 2 designated screws, and then has a spot for that last barrel spacer to go into it. And it's super deep carry. It's milled titanium, which looks great. This is probably, I don't know, if not my favorite milled titanium clip I've ever experienced, it is at the tip top of the list. It is really, really good as milled titanium clips go, because usually I don't prefer milled titanium clips, even though they look better and oftentimes feel better, because they don't carry as well as a loop over bent clip or a wire clip. So I love this. This is a great workaround to have a good looking milled titanium clip on there and have it still function. So anyway, my camera's running out of battery. I'm going to try to do this quick. I should have charged it, but I didn't, and today's going to be crazy. So ergonomically, this knife, as you can see just by looking at it, is going to be comfortable for anyone and everyone ever. It's super comfortable if you're on the handle like this. It's just neutral. It's a dream. Everything is chamfered pretty well. You've got the texture on the handles. Feels great. You also have this forward choil, which is a good full-size choil that I have no problem fitting into, and it's comfortable. It allows me to choke up and really get a lot of control on this little blade. And this is kind of scalpel-like when you look at it. It's kind of an X-Acto knife, I don't know. But having that choil paired with a really neutral handle just makes this nice knife super comfortable to hang on to. I really like the ergos on this knife. It's comfortable in a saber grip, in a hammer grip, saber grip up here, hammer grip up here, in a draw cut, very comfortable. Reverse grip, stupid comfortable. Reverse grip, draw cut, stupid comfortable. It's comfortable any way you put it in your hand, and I love that. Carry. This knife carries like a dream. It's a front flipper, so the only flipper tab is up here, which I don't really notice. Back left pocket where I've been keeping this. It is nice and slim this way. It's a little bit on the thicker side this way. I guess just thicker than maybe I was assuming it would be, but it's still a fairly thin knife. I'd say it's under the 1/2 inch mark without putting calipers on it. I'm not positive, but feels like it. It's not an overly thick knife, but the thin profile this way, the fact that there's nothing sticking out anywhere off to the sides, the fact that this clip is so ridiculously money makes it a dream to carry. It's not super light. It's heavier than I was expecting it to be. There's no internal milling on either side of the scales. So it's a little bit on the heavy side for its kind of size and profile, but it's super pleasant in pocket. I really don't have any complaints with how it actually carries. In fact, I find that to be a strong portion of this knife's performance. Okay, so that leaves us with action. On action, there's really only one way to deploy this knife. It is a front flipper, and it's a good one. The front flipper tab sticks out a pretty good distance past the end of the knife, so you get a lot of leverage up here, and bada bing, bada boom, it just works. You'll notice that instead of having traditional jimping, we've got these 4 dimples here. I love that because I'm not generally a big fan of jimping. Oftentimes it seems like a necessary evil on a front flipper because you need to have some traction. But with this, the way that the flipper tab comes up so far, those dimples are honestly enough because it's more of a leverage game up there, and it just works. And I like that it's not roughing up this portion of the knife when it's in hand now. I haven't really seen this done before. I don't know, it's possible that it has been, but I like this combination of these just dimples and then the geometry coming up. Aesthetically, I'll admit that little notch coming up past the end of the knife when the knife is closed doesn't look wonderful. Some people might love it. I don't know. I don't think it looks great, but it's super functional and it works. And then when the knife is closed, kind of fills in that space pretty well. Sorry, my focus is not doing so well in this lighting and this setting. Anyway, yeah. The action on deployment is good. It's snappy. The detent is great for it. On closure, it's a little bit of a shaker, but it's on bearings. It's smooth. It's definitely pleasant to fidget with. It's a really good front flipper as front flippers go. Front flippers don't tend to be my favorite thing in the world, but I enjoy them here and there. And this one works well in this platform. Like, I wouldn't change it to be a regular flipper. I wouldn't prefer that. I do prefer knives I can middle finger flick, but the way that this blade sets so almost flush into the handle, there's nowhere to do that. So I think the front flipper really makes sense on this design. It's a great choice for the way that this knife is kind of flowing together. So that leaves us with cutting performance. Cutting performance on it is good. The blade profile is thin-ish behind the edge. It's not like stupid thin or anything. It's actually a pretty robust blade stock. But yeah, it comes down to a good cutting profile. The geometry is nice. You've got a lot of belly up here, which you can kind of rock through things or even drag just that belly through tape, stuff like that. And then you've got a nice tip that's actually pretty sturdy the way that this is ground. But yeah, it's just kind of a utility-focused little blade, in my opinion. And for all of the things I did with it, opening packages and packaging little, I carried this in my pocket for Christmas Eve, which we kind of had 2 Christmases with the different sides of the family. Anyways, so basically Christmas part 1, I had this in pocket and used it quite a bit for opening toys and stuff for all the nieces and nephews and my daughter, and it worked great. I will say the edge that's on it isn't like the sharpest factory edge I've ever felt. I feel like if I were to keep this knife, I'd probably put a fresh edge on it, just see if I could get it a little more keen. But it's done pretty well. The geometry is good, the edge is okay, and overall it's really nice. So yeah, I mean, you don't have a ton of blade length, obviously. You've got, especially in terms of cutting edge, just not much to work with there overall, but it's plenty for most of those light duty tasks. So for me as a secondary knife, it's really been quite great. I've liked it a lot. Now when these come back in stock, I guess the question is, am I going to get one? And I think there's a pretty strong chance I will, actually. It's rare that after I review a loaner knife that I've liked it enough after having experienced it to feel like I'd like to have one in my own collection. But this is a case where this knife is really pretty freaking different. And that's what originally drew me in on it. I just happened to see this knife on, I think it was an Urban EDC Supply post on Instagram, and I didn't know it existed. I wasn't familiar with the designer. I wasn't familiar with the knife at all. And so I posted in my stories, like, this looks like an interesting knife. I'd like to try to get one. And I messaged them and they sent it. And it's because it looks so different, I feel like, that it not only captivated me to begin with, but that it continues to captivate me. I'm not into the idea of like a pocket X-Acto knife. I'm not in the market for that. But this strikes this weird balance between being like a little utility blade and an actual full-on titanium frame lock, nice, well-built, real knife. Like, if this didn't have this crazy choil here, this would also be less interesting to me because it would seem less like an X-Acto knife and more like a regular knife. I don't know, it just really, it's like this crossover that I find interesting, and it works. It's not like, in application, it's not weird. It doesn't feel strange to use. It just actually really works quite well. So yeah, I mean, I'll be on the lookout for them to get more of these at Urban EDC Supply. And if they do, then I'll probably pick one up, because the clip too, man, the way this clip is done just makes me so freaking happy. The way that they've set this up is masterful. Just a great design, and it's executed so well. It feels great in hand. It works amazing in pocket. It looks like a nice milled titanium clip, but you don't have any of the drawbacks that for me are drawbacks of it not being able to be truly deep carry, or being too rigid like sometimes they can be, or like none of those things are happening. It's just a really, really great clip that I like as much as any bent over deep carry clip that I've ever had, but it looks better and feels better and seems nicer. So yeah, it's really, it's hitting several marks really, really well, this knife. Anyway, I'm gonna call it good. My camera is about to die, and I feel like I've said plenty about it. This is the JHO number 22, and it was loaned to me by Urban EDC Supply. Again, I'll have Urban EDC Supply linked down below. I am sending this knife next to my buddy Kevin, Lefty EDC, so you'll see it on his channel as well if you want to see a lefty's perspective on it. And, yeah, this is a cool knife. I'm curious to see how he likes it, because it's different, but I feel like Kev's gonna like it, assuming he can front flip it well as a lefty. I can kind of do it. It's weird without the clip there. Yeah, it works. Okay, we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it as always, and we'll see you on the next one.